Hi, everybody. Good to have you here with me in the locker room today. I'm Alan Locher. I couldn't be more excited to welcome Hansis here today, who marked his return to daytime television when he took over the role of Dr. Lucas Jones on ABC's General Hospital on October 4th. Fans of As the World Turns will remember him from his groundbreaking role of Luke Snyder, and his career has continued to thrive with credits including Paul Schrader's Oscar-nominated film First Reformed, HBO's The Deuce, CBS's FBI, and his role as a series regular on the Netflix Emmy-winning series Eastsiders. In addition to his return to daytime, Van has been busy over the last few years coaching actors who have booked roles in over 70 network TV shows, feature films, and Broadway production. And to top it off, he's a 5-time Emmy nominee, 3 for World Turns and 2 for Eastsiders. Please help me welcome my friend Van Hansis to the locker room. Hey, Van.
Hello, how are you, Alan?
I am well. Congratulations, pal. So happy for you.
Thank you very much. I am so happy to be back on daytime.
I am sure. Well, speaking of the role, tell us, how did the role of Lucas come about? Was there an audition? Did you have to meet Mark Teschner, Frank?
Yes, so throughout the years, like since being on World Turns, like I've auditioned for a handful of times for General Hospital, and the way that honestly, I'd say most television shows are these days and films, but I think especially like stuff that's been around for a long time is that there's a lot of sort of secrecy in the auditioning process. So you're going to be getting like sides that are not, the names have been changed.
Right, it's
or
Alan Locher,
yeah,
but Van Hansis.
exactly. Or like they'll use dummy sides or whatever. So I've never really known who I'm auditioning for. And that's not, just to General Hospital. That's so many shows. Because with everything being online, people can just post their auditions and then, that ruins that. So I've gone in like a number of times, and over the summer, I got a self-tape request for role in General Hospital, and I sent it in. Everything's also self-tapes these days, so we're not really, as actors, going in the room anymore. We're just, putting ourselves on tape and sending it out there. And then about a week later, I got an email from my agent being like, hey, they have this really heavy character coming up, or heavily recurring character coming up. And I don't even know if this is what I actually auditioned for, or if they just saw my tape and it reminded them that I'm alive. So they were like, she was like, they're wondering, because I live in New York, they're wondering if you would be interested in coming out to LA and maybe playing this role. And I was like, yeah, totally, that'd be awesome. Not knowing anything about it. And then about 2.5 weeks later, I hadn't heard anything, so I assumed it just went in a different direction. So I shot my agent an email being like, I'm assuming it went somewhere to somebody else. And she's like, no, they're very interested in you still. And about a week after that, I had a Zoom call with Mark and Frank, and they told me that it was Lucas who's coming back. And I had gone online and looked up a little bit about the show. So I was like, and I came across him, and I was like, that one seems like I could be circling that guy. Yeah. So I had a talk with them, and it went super, super well. And I didn't have to audition. I guess they had seen my other tape, or all my tapes that I sent in from years prior. And about 2 weeks after that, I got a call that it was a go. And then about 2 weeks after that, I was in LA.
What was it about Lucas that enticed you?
Well, I mean, I saw just like looking at the sort of the characters who were sort of major-ish characters or in major families or whatever, who had been off the canvas for a while, because I was assuming, just having been in the soap world, I was assuming it was a recast. And when I was sort of just looking at everybody, I'm like, if I was to cast Van, I'd probably cast him as Lucas. So and it's really cool. He is, is so established within Port Charles and has ties to so many different people. So, that's always
watching you walk through the doors those first few days. I mean, you were saying hello to everybody.
Yeah. He knows a lot of people in that town. So there was a lot of because of that, a lot of research that you have to do of just figuring out how interconnected everybody is. And I've said in previous interviews, the cast and the directors, the crew, everybody's been so helpful in helping me out when there's sort of a blind spot that maybe hasn't been covered online of how do I know X or Y or Z. But then also I think part of that is that, and I think that this is, a particular thing to soap operas where it's very common for a new actor to be stepping into an established character's shoes, of not just figuring out how do I know them on paper, but how do I know them in life, right? It's been a couple years maybe since you've seen somebody, but you still have all of this, this history or these, these feelings or this relationship with the different people. So I really wanted to make sure that felt real and not just I'm some new guy coming in who doesn't know, any of these people that he's talking to.
There was an article online today, I think, am I pronouncing it correctly? Parry?
Yeah.
He was talking about how impressed he was at all you knew about Lucas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got you're the character is its own entity unto itself. I think I'm the fourth or the third or fourth adult to play the role, and the character was born on the show. So I think you just need to figure it out as much as you can so that you can tell the story as honestly as you can.
I believe you also said there were a lot of similarities between Lucas and Luke.
Yeah, well, they're both gay. They're both Lukes in a way, Lucas and Luke. They both have, and I found this out. So Lucas's dad was a gangster. Luke's dad was a mobster.
Yeah.
And they were both adopted. There's, they're checking a lot of the soap boxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's definitely some similarities between the characters. And I think as I keep playing Lucas, the differences will become a lot more apparent to me as well.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it helped that you also took over for Luke to realize sort of the things you needed to know to play Lucas.
Yeah. I was not the first, Luke was born on As the World Turns as well. I think I was kind of the first, he was a teenager, a young teenager. And then when I came in, they aged him up to 16, 17. But definitely, he had a whole lot of story, even as a kid, that happened to him before I stepped in.
14 years since you stepped on a daytime set. Was it a little
stepped on or stepped off? When did
World Turns went off in 2010?
Stepped off a daytime set. So I started. So I started on daytime 20 years ago now.
Yeah, right.
So 14 years since I've been on daytime. Wow.
What were there some nerves?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, yeah. There were definitely nerves, but also I think the fact that I had done it before. I mean, it is kind of like riding a bike. It's been a long time, but I was able to be okay, I know how this moves. I know, I know the world. But it was even just weird little things that I remember my first day on General Hospital, one of the directors said, okay, now you guys go 50-50, which means you stand you kind of, the way you stand is a term called 50-50. So that one of you isn't a little bit upstage so that both cameras can get you equally, I think. and I hadn't heard that in
I was just
14
gonna
years.
say, did we use that on World Turns? Because
We
I don't
did. We did.
really. I don't
Hmm.
remember hearing that. Okay.
Yeah, you'd say and go 50-50, and I was like 50-50, 50. What does that mean? I know what this means. Um, yeah, but no, there's definitely nerves, and I think like not like horrible nerves, but like nerves and excitement kind of as one.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I've read somewhere that like your body doesn't know the difference between nerves and excitement. It's the same chemical reaction. So whenever I feel nervous, like in acting or whatever, I always try to like just tell myself that your body's just getting excited right now. And so just lean into the excitement for what's going on instead of putting the negativity of the nerves on top of it.
Ooh,
Right? If your body doesn't know the difference, it's the same chemicals. It's your brain saying this is something that's scary. And you can trick your brain, you can't trick your body.
love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that you taped out of order, I know on what we, the viewer, watched, your first scenes were with Laura. Was that not the
No,
case?
my first scenes were with Perry.
Okay.
The stuff where I saw him, that was one day unto itself in August. And then I only shot that one day, and then I went back to New York. And then about 2.5 weeks later, I came back. So like early September, I got back, and I've been there since. And I came back to New York last Saturday, so I was there for like 5 weeks straight. But my first stuff was with Perry, and then I had like a full week of shooting, and then I think on that Friday was when we actually shot my first scenes that aired.
Gotcha.
So my first scene was with that was the stuff with Perry, and then the stuff at the gravesite with Maxie was my second scene. Was my second day.
Nice. Well,
And
talk
yeah,
about working with Perry so far.
it's been great. I mean, everybody on this on the show has been so awesome to work with, and I, like we sort of joked earlier, like I'm literally saying hi to everybody. So even in 5 weeks, I've worked with a lot of different people,
You really
and yeah, and like half of them haven't even aired yet. But it's been like to a person. Everyone's been so nice, so warm. One of the things I really like about working in daytime is that it really does feel like, everybody talks about how quickly you have to work and um, how much pressure there is to it. But I think when you get the right group of people together, people can like lift each other up and support each other, and really like you kind of in a way also just kind of have to lock in as scene partners, because you haven't had sort of the prep time that you might have in other genres, or you haven't had the rehearsal period. So it's really about, being, present and listening to the other people and all that. So like Perry's been great, Laura, everybody has been just so.
I love Laura.
Oh
Worked with
my God.
Laura on Guiding Light.
Yeah.
Fantastic. How soon, like being on set, did you realize the difference in pace from World Turns? Was it immediate?
It was pretty immediate. It was pretty immediate because, like, yeah, like I was used to how quick World Turns works, and I knew, that it would move very, very quickly. Um, but I think the the fact that it shoots, like with World Turns, we would shoot an episode a day. You do shoot one entire full episode a day, so it was very sequential. That's the right word?
Yeah. Mhm.
With this, it's so out of order. It still shoots just as fast, but sometimes you haven't shot, the stuff that you're talking about yet. So again, with that, you've got to lean on, the directors, or the people who know more of the full storyline
Yeah.
to sometimes figure out motivation. But yeah, it moves really quick. But I think that, I don't know, I kind of like shooting quickly. I think I've realized, because I was so, As the World Turns was my first real job, and so that's what I got really used to. And then since it's been 14 years now, and now I'm on General Hospital, everything in between, none of that has been sort of at that clip that Daytime's at. And I mean, I love working in that way as well, but there's something about just like being like, let's go, let's go, let's go.
And it
Yeah,
probably gives you a lot more energy.
it does. It gives you so much energy. And also it's kind of like, I was thinking about it, it's kind of, because I started, when I was a kid, like doing like school plays and local plays, and I went to college for theater, and there's been a lot of that. I'm like, oh, it's like a little 3-page long play. And because sometimes you only get, one take, and it's like doing theater, you do it, you'll get the next night or whatever, but like you don't get to go back and do a scene again. So yeah, I kind of like the pace of it, honestly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your scenes last week with Maura West were fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
What was it like when you both saw each other for the?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, Maura is like I've said it before. Like I remember going on to As the World Turns, and she, had been on the show, and I never really had any scenes with her, but I remember just like watching her and just being like, oh, wow, she's really good. And then I think I ever only had like 1 or 2 scenes with her on As the World Turns. So coming into General Hospital and her playing my aunt, I was like, I bet at some point I'm gonna get to work with her, but I didn't know it would be so soon. And seeing her was, sorry, my cat is right under the.
Okay.
All right, bye. Yeah, she does. Seeing her was fantastic. It was my first week. I had like 3 days, and I hadn't seen her. And then I was in wardrobe. I was getting a fitting or something, and she was coming into wardrobe, and I obviously knew she was on the show. She didn't know that I got cast. She did, and she knew, and this was the day I had scenes with her, but she had no idea I had been cast. And like I turned the corner, and she's like grabbing her wardrobe for the day, and she looks at me and she's like, and you could just see the synapses, and then like, because when you see somebody out of context,
Totally.
it's like when you're a kid and you see your teacher at the grocery store, you're like, and there's like this, like, I could see that going on in her mind. And then she was like, Van? And she like comes up and gives me a hug, and she's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I got cast on the show. She's like, oh, that's great. Oh, are you Lucas? And I was like, yeah. And then she screamed so loud, it like to the point that the security guard Emma like came through the maze of like backstage and was like, oh my God, I thought somebody got hurt or something. So it was just, I mean, it was amazing seeing her. It's amazing working with her.
Yeah, I love her in this role. I never watched. Never watched General Hospital. I started after Jackie Zeman passed, and I've been watching, and I just love her in this role.
Oh, she's so good. She's so I don't know, she can just hit so many things kind of at once. Like she's got gravitas, but then she's playful. She can be a little wicked, like, I don't know. She's the real deal.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel, playing a gay character again? Do you feel it as important as it was then?
That's a really good question. It feels like I've played a lot of gay characters, and it feels great. It feels great that there's, such a more of a variation in characters these days. I think that with, Luke and As the World Turns, it never really hit me that it was, as I was doing it, that it was the first time that a lot of this stuff was being done and being shown on Daytime. And in retrospect, and in, having some time, and also in growing up, that has definitely resonated more with me. But one of the things that I really kind of am liking a lot about what's happening on General Hospital is that Lucas is by far not the only queer character on the show. Um, you know, and also while my character, you know, obviously being gay is part of who he is. And like, you know, he has scenes with his ex-husband, and there's a lot of like, you know, tension in that relationship. I don't think yet that my character has ever like had to say I'm gay to anyone. You know what I mean?
Everybody knows it's, you know, it's
Everybody
all
knows, and there's no drama in his sexuality, right?
yeah.
But also he's a lot older than Luke was, and so, you know, and I know he had his own coming out story and everything, and but it's cool that there's characters who are queer, who that's a part of them, but it's not the defining characteristic of, you know, who they are.
Well said. Well said. Let's go back to Massachusetts. Is it
Okay.
true theater camp and high school is what led you in this direction?
Theater camp in high school. So no, theater camp.
Well, no, theater camp before and then high school.
Yeah, theater camp was when I was like, I don't know, like 7 or 8, like really young. Yeah. And that was like
what led you into that? What led you into that?
I think honestly, I think it was that my parents, they're both educators, or they're retired now, but they were both educators. But so they would get summers off, but then they would have to like sometimes like do a week of work of like getting ready for school again or whatever. That's them, mom and dad. And then so they had to put me somewhere, and I come from a really small town, and it was like available. And so I remember I played a gargoyle in a school play, or not a school play, a camp play, and I was like, oh, this is so, and all I had to do, because I was like the youngest, so they just like, I didn't have any lines or anything, but like I just had to fight over like a bone with another gargoyle, and it was really fun. And yeah, and I always liked going. My mom was a principal, so I would go to her school plays when I was a kid. And I remember they did Fiddler on the Roof, I think, and I think there's a ghost in it. I remember the ghost being like, "Oh my God, that ghost is so scary." I don't know, and so then I always like just kind of liked acting, and then I did like, you know, I went to a performing arts boarding high school outside of Boston called Walnut Hill. And that was like your mornings would be academics, and then your afternoon would be all arts classes, whatever major you had. And I was an acting major. And so like that was honestly one of the most fun experiences of my life. I met some of my best friends to this day. We're still all in a group chat. Yeah, so that was like all acting all the time.
Wow.
And that's, yeah, it's kind of been
Carnegie
the
Mellon.
Carnegie Mellon School of Drama. I went there, and that was awesome.
Wen. So as the world turns alum, Ming-Na Wen,
yeah, Tamara, who I was on the show with, yeah,
you and Chris Goutman.
Oh yeah, I forgot Chris went there too. Yeah. So then I went to I was at Carnegie Mellon, and then after Carnegie Mellon I did a couple summers at the Williamstown Theater Festival, which is crazy because that's where I was raised, in Williamstown. And it's got like a really awesome theater festival, and then after that I got As the World Turns.
Incredible. What was the experience like at Carnegie Mellon?
Oh gosh, it was really it was intense. It was very intense. It was really good. I think honestly, I think I was kind of in a bad mood a lot of the time, and I don't know why. So I think the school is amazing, and the people are amazing. The teachers are top notch. I think I was just going through like a really kind of like, I don't know. You know, when you're like I wish I put more into it so I could have gotten more out of it. That being said, I learned so much there. I just wish that I wasn't, I don't know, I was kind of a little brat the whole time, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who are some of the mentors who've helped guide you? And it doesn't have to be teachers, whoever. Who
I know
would
it
you?
is a teacher, Joe Cabral, who was my the head of the theater department at Walnut Hill. He literally just retired this May. He has been like the best, not just teacher, but just like mentor. And especially, it was a boarding school, so the adults that you're with in that time, because your parents aren't there, obviously, are super, super important. I couldn't have had a better time and a better person in my formative years, to sort of help, guide me through it. And again, to this day, like, I've texted with him. He's just been like, for a generation of kids who passed through that school, I think he was incomparable. So he has definitely, if I were to think of like who is my mentor, it would be Joe Cabral, and happy retirement, Joe.
I mean, it is really incredible the impact that they really can have on
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Just like, I don't know. And there's definitely, there's so many other people. There's people at Carnegie. A dear teacher at Carnegie, Kath Warman, just passed away, and she was amazing. She taught movement, and she taught movement in ways that like you wouldn't think to teach movement. But yeah, the teachers are so, and regardless of what it is you do, I think almost everybody has somebody who, like in the teaching profession, who they could talk this way that I can like talk about Joe about.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, and that's
DC.
why teachers should be paid more.
I know exactly, right?
They,
Ridiculous.
they really should. Take us back. What do you remember about your audition for World Turns?
Oh God. Very little. I remember, you know what I realized? I have a very bad memory.
So do
I
I.
know, seriously, and I've only realized it recently. Like people will be talking about things and I'll be like, wait, I was there, or like I'll go through. I keep all of my old self tapes, like just a file of them. Just I don't know why, and I'll like watch something I put on tape like 4 years ago, and I have no recollection of putting it on tape, and I'm like, I'll be like, well, I must have because that's me. My audition for As the World Turns. Okay, so I had never I didn't grow up watching soaps. Like we
Never.
weren't never. We weren't a soap
Well, yeah.
family.
I mean, teachers. I can't imagine that. Well, not that I can't imagine because I know many teachers do, but
Oh yeah.
both teachers.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we also like my parents are kind of they're kind of like former hippies-ish. So we didn't even have a TV until I was probably around 8 or 9. Because yeah, so we didn't like we'd go to the movies and stuff, but we didn't have a TV. Um, but anyway, so yeah, so not knowing really anything about soap operas, um, I had gotten an audition for As the World Turns, and I asked a friend of mine who had done, like a couple, like a smaller role on the soap, and I was like, "What do you do?" And she was like, "You're always a little bit attracted to everyone you talk to." I was like, "Okay, okay, interesting. There's always a little bit of attraction. Okay, okay." And but then my scene was with my parents. It was with Lily and Holden. I was like, okay, always a little attracted. I was like, doesn't seem like that would work. But I'll do like a warmthness towards them, like an interest. And so I remember doing that. Um, and I think that's about it. I'm just like a little bit, just like it's not an attraction, or it's like a platonic attraction of like just a warmth, an interest in what they're talking about. And I do remember it was way, 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 way out in Brooklyn. Eventually I got very used to going out there because that's where he shot. But at the time, it felt like you're going to Canada.
It many
Yeah.
times felt that way. Yeah.
Oh my God, so far out. Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, many
Yeah.
times. Was there someone who helped you when you first got there, being your first job? Do you remember?
I mean, everybody was very nice. Like John and Martha were very helpful. They played my parents. I uh, I was so terrified when I started on that show that I don't think I spoke to anybody for
Wow,
weeks
I
and
don't
weeks.
remember that. Oh my God.
You do remember that, or you don't
No,
remember
I
that?
don't. Wow.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I can
Like,
imagine it, a first, I mean, I think anytime
yeah,
you have your first job, when you walk into a place, you're
yeah.
nervous. Yeah.
I had never been like in a studio before. I had never been on a soundstage before. Like I remember seeing a boom mic in life for the real in real life for the first time and be like, oh, they're real. They're not just something you see. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. So I was good and quiet, and I just was like very much like I think trying to stay in my lane and like. So I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just,
Yeah.
sort of clammed up in my own world. I hid in my dressing room until honestly, that got too boring to just hide in your dressing room for all day long.
Did you screen test?
No,
That's
no,
all
because I was recurring.
at first, or the whole,
Yeah, first.
not the whole
No, no,
time.
no. I was recurring, and then I went on. I don't know how long I was recurring for, but I
Yeah.
went
I
on
mean, that's
contract.
the way they always, they get to pick who they
Yeah,
want. I love that. Yeah. It's great.
yeah.
Um, Alaska 49 years old said, in quotes, a little attraction. Yeah, I'd confuse Holden, be it Dad or John Hensley.
Touche, touche.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
I know Luke had trouble coming out to Mom. Was Vans coming out easy?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially back in the day, like easy might not be the right word, but like my parents are so lovely and they want me to be happy. And there was no pushback. There was nothing like that. My dad said, well, that answers that question. Um, and
Sense of
yeah,
humor helps.
yeah, yeah.
It really does.
And I think like if there was anything, it was very much that they didn't. Any parent wants their child's life to be as easy as possible, right? And you know, I think that there might have been them being a little worried that it would make my life harder, or I'd be less accepted, or whatever. Um, but no, it was very, you know, it was wonderful. They were very, very supportive, very loving. Threw in a joke in there. Yeah.
When you look back on those 5 years, now being so far out from World Turns, what comes to mind for you from that?
Man, I think it's just I don't know, just there's a lot of just sort of being grateful for that experience, if that makes sense. Um, like again, like at the time I didn't know, or you knew, like I was told, Luke is the first gay male family lead character, first gay kiss, all of that stuff. And so you hear it, but then it takes time to let that kind of sink in and let that, you know, to really realize what that meant. So I'm super, super grateful for that to be a part of, something that was at least in the genre the first time. But then also just like because we were so isolated out in the depths of Brooklyn, um, the kind of sense of camaraderie that you would get with the cast and crew is really, really nice. Yeah, and it just, there's something to be said, and I'm, so grateful to be having that now with General Hospital as well, of just like, just a lot of times as an actor, you're playing in somebody else's sandbox, right? Like you come in and you do a guest star on a show, or you're a supporting part in a film or something, and you kind of come in and you play in the sandbox for an episode or so, and then you're gone. So it's really nice to have some place where it's like, oh, I am not sort of a stranger here, right? Like I'm, with General Hospital, I'm getting to know all these people, and getting to establish a character who gets a through line, and who is not just like in for an episode and then gone. There's something really, really nice about that, and it's something like that can be kind of hard to come by.
I mean,
So
Luke had, you had 5 years of,
yeah. Yeah, and then on Eastsiders, I did 4 years of that. So for this sort of to be the third time that I'm like, oh, I get to actually sink my teeth into something and get to hopefully make a little bit of a mark is a really cool thing.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at Entertainment Tonight.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I can do it.
History will be made Friday on CBS's As the World Turns, with the first teenage same-sex kiss on daytime television.
It's a real story. It's an everyday story. It's one that, millions of people are going through.
In the story, Luke, played by Hansis, is an openly gay teen. The character of Noah is still conflicted about his sexuality.
If you're going to show a gay relationship, you should show it as it is, and not like that you don't dumb it down.
I mean, for Entertainment Tonight too, to cover it, it's a big deal. And it was a different time too. It was 2007, I believe.
Yeah. Well, you got Entertainment Tonight to cover it. So
yeah, but I mean,
kudos to you.
I'm glad, as a gay man, I was very proud to get that. Sadly, the powers that be were not as happy, but that happens in this business because of, there's a lot more people to answer to than just one. Hopefully we're at a different time in 2024 that networks aren't as concerned for showing 2 men or 2 women or any of that.
Yeah.
It's just real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you realize the impact, like, because you must have, the one thing that we didn't have, which I'm grateful for as the publicist, and you're probably very grateful for.
I know what you're going to say, and yes, I'm so grateful.
Social media.
So grateful. So grateful we didn't have some. Oh my God.
But
oh my God.
You must have had letters and at
hearing. And there was definitely, I heard a lot. There was a lot of response. And it was so awesome. Like so much positive response from so many fans. It was absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sorry if somebody wrote something and I think it was an inappropriate comment asking me what I had to do to get that.
Oh. They knew you were a publicist, right? You did your job.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to mention your co-stars.
Yes.
What comes to mind? Just what's in your mind. Let's start. Oh, well, first of all, let me show you this because I did this just as a hoot over the weekend. I posted this on YouTube to see what who fans preferred, Luke and Noah or Luke and Reed.
Oh, yes. Interesting. Okay. That's a good split. Split.
It's almost closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Closer than I thought it would be.
Wow.
Jake Silberman.
I love him. I am in contact. He's been the person from As the World Turns. He's been like my big takeaway. He's such a great guy.
It's
Like,
nice to walk away with that, isn't it?
yeah, like he's been like, like a friend that is going to be in my life for forever. I adore him. He's doing really well. Before I went out to LA, I saw him. We got dinner. He's doing great. Yeah, so he's really happy. So yeah, nothing but good things for him.
I'll need to catch up with him. He's a good
Yeah.
guy. And I didn't know Eric as well. Eric Schaefer Stevens.
I didn't really know Eric very well either. I loved working with him. I think he's a phenomenal actor. He was older than, because at the time I think I was like mid-20s or something. He was older. He had kids, I remember, married. So I never really got to know him very well. And he was only, I think, really on the show for not that long. But he made a huge impact, obviously, and he's a fantastic actor. I don't think I've seen him since the show ended. But yeah, but he was
Lawrence
really
Lau?
fun to work with. Who?
Lawrence Lau.
Sorry. Yeah. He's wait a minute, was he my grandfather or was he?
He was the one. I can't.
Was he
think of the
Noah's dad?
No, Lawrence is. He was hitting on Lucinda, I think.
No, he married Lucinda. So yeah, he was my step grandfather.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he was really fun. He was really fun. I liked him a lot too. That was an insane story because he married my grandma,
right,
and then hooked up with me.
I mean that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. I remember, and because that was really fun for me because during that time, Luke developed a drinking problem. And so Luke was drunk literally every episode. Every scene I had for a good 3 months there, it was just wasted out of his mind. And so being able to play that was really fun, and like figuring out like how to like make that not look absolutely insane was really fun. So I remember, because also like it gave you permission like to like maybe like take things less seriously because your character is just like, the whole time is like this the whole time and just being a mess, So that was
his name.
I remember
was
that was really fun.
Brian on the show.
Brian. Yeah.
So I'll ask you about both of your moms. Martha Byrne
was amazing. She had been on the show for years and years and years. And I think she was such a professional. She knew that show inside and out. She cared so much about it. Yeah. And like, having as I mentioned, like having my first scenes, and a lot of my first stuff being with her and John Hensley, you can't get better people to start a career with.
Yeah, true. It is helpful, if that's not the right word. It's a night, easing you into a career with professionals like that.
Yeah, and I'm just like, because they're setting the bar at a certain level, and that's where the bar just has to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Noelle Beck, who then came.
Noelle, I love Noelle. Noelle she had such a hard job coming in to like being a recast. I don't think is ever easy. But I think like being a recast of someone like Lily, who is kind of the heart of As the World Turns, is especially terrible. And I thought she came in with such grace and kindness. I think she's got such an amazing natural warmth. I don't see her much anymore either. I think she's out in LA though, so I'm gonna hit her up. She seems to be living a really great life out on the beach. Yeah, and no one deserves that more than her.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Any fun John Hensley stories?
Any fun John Hensley stories? Oh yeah, okay. So again, first job, John would do this thing that he would, because as actor, like a lot of times we all have like tension as when we're performing of like where do we hold our tension. A lot of times with people it's like in their foreheads, like they'll get a lot of forehead tension or like upper lip or something. And I don't know why it's like a physical manifestation, maybe of like, I don't know, nerves or not nerves like necessarily, but like something that we do when we're acting that we don't do in real life. I think, and I've talked about it in my class a lot. Like, I think a lot of times it's our bodies know that we're lying. So we do something like we hold tension in some way. I don't really know. But anyways, John's was, you can't really see it. So he'd have his hand down like by his, leg or whatever. And his hand would go like that, like mad.
Wow.
Until it was a wider frame and he'd stop it.
Interesting.
And I remember my first time working with him, I just was like glancing down. I was seeing his hand just darting. And I was like, what is that? What is that? You know what I mean? But I think it's just, it's so common. Like for me, it's upper lip. Like I have to, a lot of times, even to this day, just remind myself, just relax your lip. Like, it's like I give myself injectables when I start acting and like everything gets like that,
Interesting. I mean, Colleen used to talk about Anthony Herrera would bounce up and down on set.
Oh yeah. There's so much. Yeah. A lot of times it'll be like a lot of actors will like break eye contact. It's just everybody, because we all have tics as people. And like, when we're acting, they're still there.
I pick my finger, like
me too. I go like this. Yeah.
I think I get it from my mother, but that's I love that.
Yeah. So that's my John stories. His hand.
Wow. Fans were asking, they were writing this question. Well, not this question, but I wanted to ask about the late Liz Hubbard. But the fans were asking, were you nervous at first having to work opposite her?
Yeah, of course. If you've got a beating heart, you should be nervous to work opposite her. She was a powerhouse, and she was she just like everything that Lucinda was. She was too. Like she was so intelligent, so sharp, very fiery, took no shit. Very funny though, also like hilarious. I was thinking about her recently because I remember she said this one thing just in passing that was just so like, she was talking about, she had just come back, I think, from a trip to Italy. And she was talking about seeing all these little villas, I think, like in the mountains or like in the cliffs. And she was like, each house just hung like a brooch on a woman's blouse. And I was like, that's the prettiest way of describing something. And when I was out in LA, there's, when you're up in the hills or like you're looking up at the hills, the houses are all like that. Like, and I thought of that exact quote of like, they're hanging like a brooch on a woman's blouse. It was just I don't even know why that out of everything like stuck with me, but just first saying that, I was like, that's so, to think that way is so.
You must have learned an immense amount.
Oh yeah.
Watching her.
Yeah. Yeah. She was really, really one of a kind. And yeah. She was great.
That was a great description. She was one of a kind.
Yeah. She was fantastic.
I know you were close with Marnie too. What stands out about Marnie?
I think how her warmth, first off, she was a genuinely such a kind person. And I wasn't as close with her as some of my other castmates were.
That's a great description, though.
Yeah, but every time I would see her, she would have a smile, and it was genuine. She was, she kind of had like she's from Massachusetts, so she kind of had like a little bit of the attitude, but like in the warmest way possible. And then I think one of the big things is, when she passed, that there's certain times when somebody passes where there's like nobody ever talks ill, about the somebody who passes, but you can tell in how people respond and pay tribute to certain people. You can tell how universal the warmth that she gave was to everyone.
You sort of going to make me cry, but yes, I agree. And the other, this just happened recently, and you may have known him. I did not.
Yeah.
But Gavin Creel.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. So I
was blown away.
Yeah.
At the love people had, but the light that human being gave to the world, really.
Yeah. I had only met Gavin a couple of times. Tyler was closer with him, but it was the exact same thing. And being, by proxy, being part of the theater community through Ty, I knew so many people who did know him well, but again, it's even the people who just had an interaction with him. It's that thing. Marnie had that too, of just like, this is a truly, truly good person.
I love that you said that, because that is, to really see that in their passing is a gift to the family and everybody going through that loss.
And it's also such a sad thing, because also, or bittersweet, because they both, passed so young.
Right.
And
so
it's
young.
like
37 and 48. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Should not happen that way.
No.
In 2006, you participated in the Matthew Shepard, the Laramie Project. Here we are meeting.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What do you remember about that? I mean, you did it.
I did a benefit. It was at, I think, Town Hall in New York City.
Town Hall with a lot of people.
Yeah, Judith Light, who wasn't. What show was she on?
Because
she was Carnegie Mellon as well. One Life to Live. Okay. Yeah. I remember that was an awesome experience. First off, just being asked to be a part of it was so incredible. But I mean, I think if you're of a certain age, the Matthew's story was really seminal, especially if you're queer. But it was kind of, I think, the first time that a hate crime, in my life at least, that a hate crime against somebody, part of the queer community, was front page news. And it was horrible what happened to him. But, for his mother to, really rise out of that and create the Matthew Shepard Foundation, and, for pieces to, like the Laramie Project, to be made, and for the conversation to begin to start nationally. Like, I was too young, obviously, for Stonewall. I wasn't alive for Stonewall, or like Harvey Milk, or like, the AIDS epidemic. Like, I was a child during, but I remember Matthew Shepard. I literally remember I think the Time magazine cover. I think it was The Fence, if I remember correctly. So for her to be able to, take probably the worst thing, that can happen to you, and find some, good out of it, or for it to be able to like turn the dial a little bit, is really, really powerful. And incidentally, I had done the Laramie Project. My actual very first professional job ever was at the Pittsburgh Public Theater, and I was in the Laramie Project. And so when I got to go back and do it for the town hall, it was cool, like, because I had done the show before. Yeah.
It was incredible, and
it was such an awesome night.
I was very lucky because she sat down with me to do my show.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, we spoke. She was great. One of your fans, Michael, was asking if you'd share memories of working opposite Charles Busch.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I did Die Mommy Die at New World Stages with Charles Busch. I played his son Lance. Charles is, again, it's like kind of similar to Liz. Like, Charles is everything you would think he would be. He is such a grand dame. He is so the weird thing though is, like, as a person, he's very soft-spoken, very chill, very, very zen. And then he plays these insane characters. And I think you probably need that. You need that counterbalance of, like, your daily life has to just be like calm. But also Charles was amazing. He's an icon. Being able to do that show was so fun. Because also he has such a specific brand of humor that to be able to kind of to experience that and to be a part of it was really awesome.
Do you still have a dream? I'm sure you do. Do you have a dream role, a stage role that you'd love to play?
God, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that in so long. I would always say something Chekhov. Probably at this point, maybe Trigorin in The Seagull. Yeah, something Chekhov. I don't know. I haven't thought about that in a long time. It's been so long since I've done theater. I love theater. I go to the theater a lot. It's been so long since I've done it, though. I don't even really think about that right now.
Interesting. Well, talk about, before I let you go, the last few years coaching.
Yeah.
What is it like for you to take what you've learned and pass it on, and watching them get these roles? Yeah,
it kind of came about very roundabout. I had gone to LA, I was back in New York, and I was in an acting class, now actually where I teach at MN Acting Studio. It's an amazing on-camera acting studio. We do self-tapes, auditions, whatever, classes. And Matt, who's the head of the studio, like, I had been in class for, I don't know, maybe a year or so, and he was trying to expand a little bit, and he didn't want to have to coach anybody on weekends. He wanted to take his weekends off. And so he basically was like, "You're opinionated and you're good. Would you like a job?" And I was like, "Okay." And so I started as, like, just a coach there, and I fell in love with it. And then he started giving me classes, and I adore it. Like, I think it's like, somebody said to me recently, they were like, "So coaching is your day job?" And I was like, that's so, like, ugh. And because I never thought of it like that. Like I've definitely had day jobs in my life. I've worked in restaurants. I've done, that stuff. But, like,
it's your day or night job.
It's such a good, like, my coaching and teaching has helped my own acting so much. And my own acting helps my teaching and my coaching. And, since being on General Hospital, I've had to, step back from teaching, and I miss it. Like, I love what I'm doing on General Hospital. But even on my days off, like, I'll still, like, even when I'm in LA, I'll coach on Zoom. I've got amazing clients. It's really fun to be able to, like, dissect a scene and help somebody and be like, these are, what we need to hit. Let's just play with it, because there's no pressure on me. I'm not auditioning. So to be able to, like, have that outside eye and be like, "Okay, that's awesome, but let's try. This might not work at all, but let's play with this," or, Yeah, so I've been at the studio now for I think like 6 or 7 years, and it's been such an awesome place to work. And on my students, like one of my students booked I forget the name of the film, it's not out yet, but it's stars Pete Davidson and Dustin Hoffman and Jennifer Coolidge, and she got to go to Toronto International Film Festival with it. She's got an awesome part. She showed me her tape that she did for it, and it's insane. And she got to walk the red carpet and like do the Q&A with the cat. And it's just seeing how it's being able to celebrate the wins of other people is so good, and the wins of your students is so amazing.
I love that you're able to pass down the knowledge.
Yeah.
But someday I might be sitting here, or another host might be sitting asking your student who their mentor was, and Van Hansis could easily come out of their mouth.
I should be so lucky.
Well, I'm sure, because you have experience.
And you know what I will say? I told my parents this because I had known like about General Hospital for a while, and I had to keep it secret, and not just like on social media, but even to my classes. They knew I was going out to LA, but they didn't know for what. And I had to get some subs come in for my classes. When the news broke that I was on General Hospital, the thing that I didn't realize was the outpouring from my students was so heartwarming. Like I knew my friends would be like blah 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 blah, but so many of my students were even because even though it's what's taking me away from teaching at the moment, I was like, oh my God, maybe I am doing something well here. You know what I mean? So it was, that's awesome. It was just like so many of my students were so like putting stuff on social media and DMing me and emailing me, and like just so happy for me. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I teased fans. I like I told you backstage, I knew you had gotten the part on your birthday. I had posted, hey, everybody, wish Van a happy birthday. Wouldn't it be great? We need Van back on TV.
Yeah, I saw that.
and people were like, did you know?
Yeah. No, and I am so thrilled to be back. It's been so much fun. I love, I really like, this is the genre that gave me my first break, and it's such a fun,
And that's an iconic show, Van. I mean, it's an
iconic show. I know. Like it's Luke and Laura. It's
right. You may not have watched soaps, but Luke and Laura.
But that's the thing, is like when I know who everyone knows who Luke and Laura are, right? And like that's General Hospital. That's the show. So to be a part of it is so cool.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to see where it goes. Tyler and you have been together for how long now? Long time.
A long time. I don't know.
A long
17
time.
years? 16?
Oh,
17.
Wow. We're very close. We're 17. Yeah. We just celebrated
16.
17 this summer.
Yeah, so I think we're 16. I think. I don't know.
We were 2007.
Remember how I said that memory thing?
Yeah. So Tyler, I hope you're not watching.
No, I hope you are, but also he knows this. I think it was a year after I got As the World Turns, so then that has to be 16 years. 16. A long time.
What's quiet time like for you? Are you TV people?
We're TV people. We're honestly a lot of times long distance people, because he works in theater a lot. So he's often, out of town, like in Chicago or Pennsylvania, or doing a show somewhere or another. So a lot of our quiet time is FaceTiming and phone calling and that stuff. We are TV people. So this is the weird thing. Ever since I started coaching and teaching, I watch acting so much that the last thing I want to do is watch scripted television. So when I come home, so it's a lot of trash reality TV. It's a lot of that.
What's top of the list?
Well, Housewives of Beverly Hills is probably number one. I like the Bravo shit. I like the Vanderpump Rules. But you know what's our hidden gems is like back in the early 2000s, there was all this really, really terrible reality TV, like Rock of Love, like the Bret Michaels one, or Flavor of Love, Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
We'll go back and watch those.
Are you
like
RuPaul?
Not really. I used to, but then I kind of just, I don't know. I'm not very much on the competition ones right now. Yeah, so that, but then, I try, like, I need to watch The Penguin. I really want to watch that. I'm gonna get better at going back to actual scripted shows.
I'll ask one last question and let you go.
Sure.
Michael asks, what would you advise actors that combat insecurities, that fight being in their own head?
Oh, all right. Well, first off, everybody has insecurities. If it's insecurities like I am not X or Y or Z enough, it's not your job to play casting director. If you got the audition, regardless of where that audition's coming from, whether it's, professional and it's casting director or whatever, or you go on Actors Access and you find it there, or even if it's just like locally, somebody saw something and they want to see you do it. So do your version of it. And then if it's about getting in your head as an actor, as much as possible, throw it on the other person, right? Like if you're in a scene with somebody, throw it on them. Sometimes if it's an audition, sometimes what I do is I'll pretend I'm coaching my reader and I just have to be a good reader for them. So that way, because when I'm reading for somebody, when I'm, putting an actor on tape and I'm reading with them, you want to be present with them and you want to, give them what they need, but the camera's not on you. So if it's on me, I just pretend that it's their audition. And that's helped me because it's like putting it on them. I remember when I was in person auditions, if I left the audition and I didn't know the color of the person's eyes that I was talking to, that I was in my head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If I left the audition, I was like, oh, I was so not present in my own head, thinking about myself. And a lot of times the best auditions would be the ones I would leave and not really remember what I was doing.
I think we should all think of that when you're having a conversation with someone.
I think so too.
Wow.
Yeah. If you don't know the color, that's just something like, because there would definitely be times I'd leave and I'd be like, I was so focused on me that the other person could have been a wall. I have no idea what they were doing, who they were, whatever. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
What I love most really is how easy that answer came to you. I could see how much you love this because like you were just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You could. It's nice though to have that, like to be.
Oh yeah. I love talking about acting. I love nerding out about that. Like it's so, I don't know. It's such a either, acting in, in a show in like General Hospital or, as a coach, or as a teacher. I just think it's endlessly entertaining. I don't know.
So good to see you, my friend.
You as well, Alan.
Congratulations.
Thank
Stay
you
here
very
as
much.
I sign off. You are so welcome. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you to Van Hansis for spending the hour with us. Tune in to General Hospital weekdays to catch Van as Lucas Jones. Please join me tomorrow night at 7 p.m. when the incredibly talented Juan Pablo de Pache stops by to discuss his latest feature film, Duino, which he wrote, directed, and stars in. please tune in. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. And if you like to stream audio versions, just search The Locker Room on your favorite podcast app. Have a great evening, everybody. Stay safe.